Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Future of Cyberpunk 2077, a video series where we want to talk about improvements the game can get through patches and DLCs and expansions. To make something very clear here before we are jumping into the first subject is this is not a complaint video. I do not want to talk about bugs. I don't want to talk about balance changes like, oh yeah, the 15% crit damage. Nah, it should be more like 25% crit damage, something like that. That is not what we are doing here. Like, I actually assume that CDPR will do a lot when it comes to balance changes and, of course, will fix most of the bugs. So they are not our focus. I really want to talk about gameplay aspects and how they can be improved. Now again, this is not to complain, this is really just to maybe give an idea or point out certain issues that a developer doesn't even have on their roadmap. So that's what I'm trying to focus on here. And by the way, if you have ideas maybe Cyberpunk can do in the future to get better, definitely write me in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, I would definitely appreciate that. Now, the first video is about the interface, menus, and all that around. Now you might say, wait, an interface and menu video? Really? I mean, doesn't the game have bigger issues? Again, we are not here to talk about the bugs and other problems it has. It is about improvements. And yes, this whole interface, this whole menu you see here, needs some improvements here and there. And the first thing I really want to talk about, which is a huge issue in my opinion, is stats. Let's talk about stats, shall we? Because interestingly enough, and yes, this outfit is slightly bugged. Again, we are not talking about bugs here. But the biggest problem this game has is stats. And it shouldn't be, because it's an RPG. An RPG lives from stats, lives from the idea to tell you exactly what you are getting into, where your character is getting better, where your character is a little bit weaker at, and then you try to strike a balance, and you try to build your character around those stats. The problem is, when the menus and interface is not telling you the correct stats, then, yeah, well, then you have a problem as a gamer, right? And again, Cyberpunk has some huge issues. And I have to say, this is not the first time CDPR has those issues. The Witcher 3 actually had similar issues at the beginning of the game, where a lot of informations were not visible to you, or you had to do the math yourself. And they thankfully fixed that, or well, not all of it, but most of it, thanks to some of the expansions and patches, so I hope they are doing the same. But let me show you a few of the stats and why this is not really working out. Let's have a look at the main stats here. So we can see my DPS per second, my armor, my health, and then some other stats, which are not really that important. But the first thing I can already tell you is those stats you see here are completely wrong. They don't add up. They don't add up in the slightest. And that is really, really concerning, because right now what this tells me is that my character is relatively weak. In reality though, I kill everything with 2 hits right now. I do crazy amount of crits. I work with a lot of dot damage, so damage over time. I am working with bleeding and chemical damage, aka poison, because that is my build right now. Let me actually show that to you very quickly. So I'm working with blades, and I'm working with a lot of bleeding, right? You can see that right here. And the next thing I'm working with is stealth, and I'm working with poison, right? So, yeah, you would actually assume I'm doing much, much more damage, and believe me when I tell you, I do. Like, this is not even close to the damage I'm, like, dishing out right now. I would say my damage is around 7,000 per second. Something like that. If I have to make the assumption on how much damage I do. But we will come to that. The next big thing, which really needs an improvement in itself, is armor. I have 3,599 armor with my equipment. That is a lot of armor. But what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, seriously. Like, is that in percentage? Is that how many damage is actually getting absorbed? So when somebody shoots me, 3,599 damage will not go through to my health? Like, how is that working? The same goes with the evasion, by the way. The evasion number is also not right. And I think the point is that the game is not taking into account your talents. It's the same with the bleeding chance. I have a 15% bleeding chance. I can tell you this is not true. I can already tell you this is not true because I have already talents who give me 30% bleeding chance in its own. So I'm pretty sure the menu is not taking into account your talents. But really the first thing they have to change is explain to me how the armor works. Like, what is this invasion? Is that percent? Is that like what is that invasion? Are those percentages? I assume those are percentages because 15 bleeding chance must be percentage. But the armor really needs some explanation. Like, I have to know what that is. Really. And by the way, if you're wondering how I get so much armor, the answer is pretty simple. I put the armadillo mod into all of my equipment, and that is giving you a huge armor boost. Now, there's a problem here. Like, as you can see, increases the armor by 481. No. Not even remotely close? Like, even if you're putting those together, like, no? Like, those numbers are also not adding up, right? Like, those numbers do not add up. This is another problem. Where I'm like, okay, why... what should I believe now? Should I believe the total armor of my head, the 403, or should I believe what I get through my mods, which is 481? Actually, to be honest, I'm believing the 403 because the math checks out if you're taking the armor of the head and the armor of the armadillo mods, like, yeah. But it's just so weird. You get the idea. The next big thing is I really want to see them in the foreseeable future to do. Give me a comparison. So, as you can see, this helmet has, or had, you know what I mean, has 403 armor. Pretty simple, right? This new head has 48. Well, because it doesn't have any of the armadillo mod in it. So, of course, it has much less armor. But there is no comparison. I cannot compare this. So what I have to do now is I have to do the math and have to remember how much armor this head has without the armadillo mod. Or well, again, I have to subtract the two armadillo mods. And then I have to compare it to the new head I just found. And then I know if this head would have more armor with two armadillo mods slotted inside in comparison to this head. It's like, why do I have to do that? Why? The same goes, of course, for everything else, right? For every other armor, or even like weapons. Like when you were slotting in like certain weapon aspects, it's like, why do I have to do those comparisons? Why are you doing this on me, right? And by the way, those numbers are also problematic. It seems like the DPS of those weapons is not calculated with the crit chance and the crit damage. Like, it seems like it really just calculates the damage. And it doesn't really calculate all the other things you are actually getting from this weapon, which is another huge issue because sometimes you find weapons which are very close to each other when you compare them in damage, and you might say, yeah, okay, the Overture I have here does far more damage than the Quasar, right? But maybe if you were doing the number, you might realize that this is maybe better. I know this is not better, but I'm just saying, like, some of the stuff, DPS is not everything. And they had the same issue in The Witcher 3, that sometimes a lot of items and weapons you found, the DPS was better, but your damage would be lower. Like, the same goes, of course, for sniper rifles, right? Most sniper rifles who have only one shot have a much, much lower DPS because they have to reload more. But that doesn't really matter. It's a sniper rifle. You want one shot, one kill. Not 20 shots, one kill. For 20 shots, you have a shotgun or an assault rifle or an MP or something like that, right? So, yeah, it's a bit of a problem. Speaking of reload times, one thing I think they really have to show, and I don't really understand why they are not showing it, is the reload time. Like, you even give me a talent with character, right? It's right here on the body and annihilation, which is... where is it? Damn it. Something faster reload time. I will find it, I swear. There's something with reload time, and I should have searched for it before I actually showcased it. But damn it. There's definitely one thing which gives you reload time and makes it faster. Am I blind? There it is. It's so weird that it is like a heart. I was looking for the shotgun dude. This is live. Well, kind of. It's not really live, but I'm recording it right now. So you can see it reduces your reload time on shotguns and light machine guns by 20%, or even when you fully skilled it by 40%. And it's like, okay, cool. Can I see the reload time of the weapon I have? Please? Because it doesn't show this. Right? It doesn't show this at all. So, this is another thing I really want them to do. Like, there are so many things which are still missing, which is kind of weird. The same goes, by the way, for the crit chance and the crit damage. I can already tell you that this crit chance and this crit damage totally doesn't add up. It's another thing which just doesn't add up. I have more than 33% crit chance, because I just assume it doesn't really incorporate my my talents, and I have definitely more than 158 crit damage. Why? Because the numbers don't add up. I make, perhaps with an attack, 3,000 damage with a knife. I crit, and then I see, oh, you just made 20,000 crit. And I'm like, wait, 3,000 damage, 158 crit damage. That doesn't add up. Or there must be a calculation of the crit damage I'm not aware of, and because the game is not explaining it in any shape or form to me, I don't really understand it. The same goes with the attack speed. Like, I'm much faster than that already. So yeah, I really wished that they would actually show us the real numbers. Like, there has to be a lot more improvements, because people will make decisions, especially later on in the game. Like, in the early and mid game, you basically just choose your equipment depending on what you find. Oh, it's higher DPS, yeah, whatever, I just take that, right? You're in the level phase, you don't really care. But I am now level 42 with this character, and I slowly reached a point where I become much more conscious about the items I choose and the equipment I choose. And when I not get enough information to make the right decision, then it doesn't feel great. And it is so important in an RPG like this to actually know what you are getting into, right? Speaking of which, this is not the only thing. Let's talk about crafting. I know crafting in itself will be probably another video down the road, but there is something which is very much down to the interface, and which the game unfortunately doesn't show. And speaking of which, now it scrolls. Yeah, it has some scroll issues. I'm scrolling here and nothing happens. One of the things I really have to talk about, and crafting doesn't explain to you in any shape or form, is a few things. First things first, you have a chance of, whenever you craft, that your low-level items, your gray items, can become green, blue, epic, or even legendary. And you don't have to put 1 point into crafting. Like, actually, on this character, I don't really have any points into crafting. So you don't have to put any points anyway, and you still have a chance that the items you craft will come better out than you actually started them. The best example here is the Armadillo mod, right? This is the Armadillo mod I talked about, and this is a gray item. This is a gray item. But let me go to my character. Whoop. You can already see that I have Armadillo mods which are blue and which are epic, because I crafted them. Like, you can see it here. Here is the gray Armadillo, the green, the blue, and I already used the epic ones. But you can totally get better items by just crafting the gray items. And the game is not telling you about it. It's like, why is the game not telling me that information? That would be so neat to know. Even if you are not a crafting character, this can be like super helpful. Let's say you are just crafting blue items all the time and you have a chance to get like an epic or legendary out of it, even if you have not unlocked crafting epics or even legendaries. So you have a chance. Speaking of which, let's talk about one thing the game is also not telling you, and this is, well, an interface issue as it is also a menu issue. Let's talk about crafting ammunition. As you know, you can craft ammunition in the game. And for whatever reason, the game is not telling you how much ammunition you have right now. Why is that important? Well, let me give you an example. If we are taking rifle ammunition, you can have 700 rifle ammunition at all time with you. So in your weapon and just carrying around 700 in total. But if you craft that and you go over 700, the game is not telling you in any shape or form that you are full. Why is that important? Because the game is not stopping you. That's why it is important. The game is not stopping you when you have reached max ammunition. You can just craft to all eternity because you are getting XP out of this. Yeah, you are getting 18 XP out of this. You cannot see it because my camera's in the way, but you are getting 18 XP out of this. So you will not craft ammunition to push your crafting. That doesn't make sense. So it's like, okay, I understand that you don't put in a blocker because some people really just want to craft ammunition. I maybe get that, but why are you not telling me how much ammunition I have already? Why do I have to know how much ammunition my character has right now, remember that, then go into the crafting menu, then I have to know how much ammunition I actually craft per batch? That is also something the game is not telling you here. Like, craft rifle ammo. How much rifle ammo did I got? You have to know that. I think it's 42 or 46. It's a weird number. It's a weird number you're getting per rifle ammo. And I was like, what? Why are you not telling me that? Or why are you not telling me how much ammunition I have, or put even a stop in there when I'm full ammunition? It's a little bit weird. Like, as I said, they really have to work on the menus. Like, as much as I love this game, but when I'm going through menus and have issues with like understanding stuff, like the next thing here is with the upgrade. Like, why are you not showing me what this item has to offer, by the way, in full? I know that the stats are not getting upgraded. I get that, right? I get that crit damage and whatnot is not getting upgraded by this weapon. Like, you only upgrade the top stats. That's fine. But at least show me what this item can do, and then I can decide if I really want to upgrade it, because as you can see, upgrading is not cheap. And it's like, yeah, just show me everything so I can make the right decision if I want to upgrade this item or not. So, that was a lot. And this is why I made basically an interface and, well, inventory video, so to speak, because there is a lot they can do. One last thing, I'm pretty sure on the PC you can change that, but unfortunately on the console versions you can't, and that is swapping out items which are on the ground. Let me see if this is probably an area I cannot really showcase, which is really, nope, maybe I can, or maybe not. Damn it. Let me see if I find a super quick area, if I can demonstrate that. But if not, you probably know what I mean. The problem is when you find an item which lies on the ground. Yeah, I already picked this place clean. Typical. But when you find an item which lies on the ground and you decide that you want to pick it up, and if you hit reload, right, like right here, this is actually a pretty good example on this. It's just a health item, so it's not important. But let's say you are finding a weapon on the ground and you're in a shootout and you look on the ground because something is there, you try to dodge or something. There are reasons why you hit the ground. And then you hit reload and you don't reload, you take the item, and for those items, you swap out the item you are carrying right now. So you have to go into your inventory and you have to choose the weapon you just used, because you probably don't want that item. And it happens so often to me. And it's like, oh, damn it, I'm in the middle of the fight. Don't do this to me. Like, it gets a little bit better when you are a melee fighter like I am, most of the time. So it doesn't really matter for me, because, well, I don't have to reload the knife, thankfully. But especially with my other character, where I don't use melee weapons, I feel it. I feel it. So I really hope that they're doing a good amount of improvements. I'm actually kind of positive about this, because Witcher had similar issues. And it's kind of fascinating that we are back to some of the issues The Witcher had. And I'm like, oh god, no, why? Why? It was the same problem with The Witcher. Why are we having this problem again? Because they fixed it in The Witcher. Like, it wasn't perfect. Like, there were still some things which the game didn't show you and you had to do the math yourself. But it's like, come on, man. It has been a few years since The Witcher. You can do it, Sepia. I believe in you. So, yeah. That concludes the first episode of the Future of Cyberpunk 2077. And the next time we talk about talent trees and perk trees and whatnot, which should be very interesting indeed. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you next time. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I would definitely appreciate that. And then see you next time. Bye bye.